I'm David Marsh. Welcome to Exploring the Human Journey.
Exploring the Human Journey.
Hi and welcome. I'm so glad you joined us today. I have the one and only Jeanette St. Germain on set today. And if you go to her website, you'll see that she is the curious explorer of the seen and unseen. And I can't wait to share with you all the amazing things about Jeanette. So recently I spent some time with her, and I want you to watch this incredible story.
I've always been interested in spirituality, in energy, and things that I can't explain, things I can sometimes see, sometimes not see. When I was a kid, I could see auras around people. I could talk to beings that were there that nobody else could see. I would have moments of telepathic connection where I would read people's minds and not know that's what was happening. And I would get in trouble in school because I would know answers, or I would know what somebody was saying or thinking before they'd say it. So it was kind of an interesting journey as a kid, because here I am thinking it's normal to have all these insights and connections that I can't explain, and nobody else is having that. I remember someone was jumping off the swing set and they went really high and then fell and bonked their knee and bonked their head and their elbow, and they were crying, and no one on the playground was coming to help them. It was a really big playground, so the teachers were kind of spread out. And I just went over to them and I said, "Here, let me give you some blue light." And the kid was like, "What's blue light?" Like mid-cry, stopped. "What's blue light?" And so I just put my hands on the kid's knee, and within about a minute, their face changed. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's really warm, the pain's gone, what did you do?" I'm like, "I don't know, blue light," and I just ran away. So that's kind of translated into this whole journey of what's energy, what's spirituality, why are we here, who are we? I would go to the library and I'd look up all these books on ETs and ghosts and ESP and telekinesis and astral traveling. And I mean, at 8 years old, I'd come out of the library with 12 books in my hands. I was really just seeking myself, trying to figure out this strangeness inside of me that felt right and true, but nobody else really could connect with. Then I got trained in an angelic healing modality, and all of a sudden I started seeing the angels again and hearing them, and I could see into people's bodies and see molecules, see a kidney stone. These other energies would just start informing me and telling me where to put my hands and how to move the energy or where it was even coming from. I have a center in Tempe, Arizona, Radiant Soul Center, and we do meditation groups. We teach classes on how to tune into your intuitive gifts, how to be clairvoyant and clairsentient and all these things. I teach people how to be energy healers and how to feel the energy that's coming in or the information that's coming in without it overwhelming them. When people come here to the center, my goal here is for everyone to feel home. Whatever happens, that's their own journey, but I just want them to feel at home and find that energy within themselves where they feel connected and whole.
Awesome. Jeanette, you're amazing, you're fantastic, your energy. Tell me about the energy. Tell me about the electricity that you bring.
The electricity. It's a life force.
Yeah.
So everything that I do tunes into the life force of everything that is. Yeah. You know, in Star Wars, they talk about the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah. I love it.
Everybody's a Jedi.
I love it. So you have the Radiant Soul Center in Tempe, Arizona. So you have a physical brick and mortar space.
Yeah.
And I first met you in that space through another event that was happening there. So you make that space available for people. And then I learned, I'm like, well, this is an amazing space. Who owns this space? And then I got to meet you and learn about your energy work. So how did you get to the point where you're like, I'm going to have an actual physical space? Because a lot of people do practicing stuff out of their home. Tell me about that, how you actually made a place.
Well, it's a journey of building a business, right? Those of us that are self-employed.
Yeah.
I've moved a lot of different times, was in little places, and just kept growing, you know, as I was doing the energy work and intuitive work and started running classes and meditation groups, and it just started growing. And then I'd had this vision of my own place before I even started a business. I had this vision of this multi-million dollar complex on acreage and all these different practitioners coming together for holistic wellness and spiritual wellness and all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
And people could go like a one-stop shop kind of place
Awesome.
and get everything they needed to feel balanced and good in their lives.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of took this vision that was in my heart and started working out of a little med spa for a few months. And then I went home for a couple of months and do not want to work out of my house because of, the nature of the work is very personal and energetic.
Yeah.
So you have to know how to hold space and clear things and walk people through very intimate, sometimes traumatic events and help them balance their energies afterwards. And I just didn't want to have all that at my house with my kids and husband and that whole thing.
Yep. You've got a lot of things there and you like to keep that as a container and a space there.
Yeah.
Okay, so your journey through energy, I loved on your video feature how even as a child, somebody fell down, this little kid falls down and hurts his knee and you're like, oh, here, let me give you some blue light. And he's like, excuse me, blue light? What the hell are you talking about? In 8-year-old language, and you're like, oh, it's blue light. And you're always curious and fascinated about things like that. Yeah. That started at a young age.
Yeah, as far back as I can remember. I mean, I was always reading books on all kinds of different things. And I am very curious. So that I think you naturally have to be curious to be able to do this kind of work, because whether it's intuition or energy, you have to be able to just be open to what happens or what comes to you and let go of your mind and thinking and trying to rationalize everything. Yeah. It has no logic to it, the things that I do, but it creates real change. And healing and super powerful stuff. Yeah. So
okay, so let's give presence to literally the term energy, because I was raised in that religious context that, anything that you can't explain was of the devil or something like that. And now as I've opened up and expanded, I'm like, wow, there's this life force energy. There's this substance, you can almost tangibly feel it. And some people talk about a sixth sense or something like that, but there's actually something within you that you can feel. And then I start learning about quantum electrodynamics. And I start to learn that this isn't a table of solid matter. It's a table of energy fields and probability. And I'm like, what? So we're all this energetic thing. Yeah. So how do you put together the material world, the energetic world, and us as energy bodies?
Well, I try to describe it to people. You know how when you enter a room and you can tell if there was a party going on or somebody just had an argument? There's a feeling, a heaviness, a denseness in the air itself. And it's not that you can see it and you don't necessarily see the two people fighting, right? But there's this energy that stays, an imprint of energy. So when people start asking me, well, what is energy and how do you feel it? What is this thing? It's like, it's this thing that's with us all the time, everywhere we go. It's that energy of life that connects everything to everything. And when you get into the quantum fields, the scientists are studying how when we are viewing something, it actually changes what happens based on our observation of it, not on what we think is going to happen. Like they were observing light particles, and if the light particles were going to go through one hole or three holes or behave like light particles or behave like molecules in a chaotic dance. There's this whole thing on YouTube about it.
Yes, the double slit theory, the electrons bouncing through, and whether it was a wave or a particle. And then it was the observer, the observation of that, which determined which way it went. Fascinating.
Yeah, so that's really what energy is about, that we are constantly emitting a vibration, a frequency, a resonance or a non-resonance with whatever's around us. And it's not what's around us that is creating our resonance. It's our life force that is, and that it affects everything around us, everything that we're creating. So, and obviously there's a reciprocal play of energy, but that's one of the biggest things that people can try to realize, especially as they're starting on a spiritual path, that it's not what happens to you, it's who you are. That makes the most difference.
Yeah. So talk about the belief system and the mindset and the thought patterns that people get in to keep themselves in either a funk or a depression versus a state of expectation, a state of joy. Talk about how people can work through that.
Okay. So that's all energy as well. Right now, we're on the planet in a really amazing time where we're able to be aware of different energies more than we ever were before, consciously. and we can shift them and change them and move them. And when somebody's getting kind of in a down place, I always offer them the advice that to try to focus on something with gratitude, focus on something they're grateful for. And I tell a lot of my clients to just do something simple like make a gratitude list before bed every night.
That's great.
And it literally wires your subconscious mind to focus on what you're grateful for. And then as you're sleeping, your brain is working while you sleep to create more of what you're grateful for.
That kind of unconscious work, yeah.
Yeah, versus, you know, you go to bed and you're all stressed and then you wake up and you're still stressed and your problems haven't been solved, right?
Yeah.
We have to train our minds to work for us instead of against us. And it's all about noticing the energy. How do I feel? Where is this coming from? Is this me? Is this someone else? And we're moving into an energy field now, which is, in the spiritual fields, we talk about third dimensional and fifth dimensional. And the fifth dimensional energy is simply a frequency. And it's an energy that is more unified and rooted in unconditional love. And the third dimensional energy is more rooted in fear and ego, the individual, the I.
Wow.
And the fifth dimensional is rooted in the we, the us, the one. So a lot of people are starting on a spiritual path and they're coming from this third dimensional identity of the I, the individual, the ego.
This is who I am.
Right.
This is me. Yeah. Definition of the body. And
And they're having these experiences that they can't explain. Like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend had a fight with her husband and I felt her. Right? Or another person I'm really close to had pizza and then I wanted pizza, but we didn't know both of us were having pizza. Right? These unity consciousness kinds of moments, more and more people are having that, where they're moving into a fifth dimensional energy where everything is connected. So again, about energy, but just being aware of kind of where you're at. Fear-based or love-based.
Oh, so good. Third dimensional. Where's the fourth dimension in that number system?
So to me, the way that I understand the fourth dimension is that's kind of the place that people would perceive as heaven. People would go there when they cross over. I've heard other people describe it in other ways. That's been kind of my perception when I do mediumship. I tune into kind of a fourth dimensional frequency in order to connect with the energy of a loved one that's crossed over. And I could go into a whole thing on that. But
yes, and we will. Yes.
But the fifth dimensional energy, it's, like I said, it's a consciousness. It's not a place.
Oh, it's so good.
Right? And even the fourth dimension isn't so much a place. It's still an energy, but it's more a place than the fifth dimensional energy. Like Earth is more of a place, right? The higher up in frequency you go, the less density, the less form. So when you start getting into sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional energies, there isn't solid matter anymore. It's not physical, or it's very rarely physical. Some of the energies I work with in my work is sixth dimension and on. They can choose to create a form, like if a being is to appear to you or something. But a lot of times it's just light or a frequency of energy, or sometimes they're just a sound. They don't have a humanoid form to them.
Whoa.
So it gets really interesting.
I'm getting an ice cream headache already. Okay.
Totally forgot what the question was.
So, well, now you have a sensitivity to energy.
Yeah.
It's very uncanny to me as a simple caveman. But looking at the energy work you do, I've seen you do meditation. I've seen you do energy work. And I had an experience where I had the feeling of that energy. Now, I did an ayahuasca ceremony in September of 2017, and I felt like my skin had like little knives or pinpricks on them, and I was like, whoa, what is that feeling? And I literally heard Mama Ayahuasca say, well, that is your vibration changing.
Yes.
And I'm like, really? So when I did an energy work session with you, you literally weren't touching me. You were waving your hands over, and I felt that same skin prickly pin feeling, and I'm like, what? It was the first time I'd ever felt energy, and I was like, this is incredible. I mean, it's a tangible feeling that I had. I mean, you blew my mind. I was like, wow.
Yay!
Somebody grab a spatula, clear off the ceiling. My mind just got blown from that.
Oh, wow.
And so it was something that helped move me forward in consciousness. So that energy work, you can actually feel that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because to me, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know, what are you doing? You're just like, but you're like moving your hands in a pattern like you could feel, and then you're like moving things out.
Yeah.
I mean, you physically feel that.
Yeah, I physically feel it. I see it. I hear it. I know it. Like all of my intuitive channels open up, and I just go into the energy and I do what I'm supposed to do, whatever that is.
Yeah.
The life force energy that I connect to is source energy. So creation energy. And then the channels that I open up bring in whatever frequency you need as an individual to connect you to your source energy. So the vibration you're feeling is that life force, that creation energy that you have, but you're maybe not conscious of it as a human being. But as a soul matter, that's what you're made of, is light.
Yep.
And vibration.
Oh, so good. And okay, now we're going to get into this. There's so much. Oh my goodness. But we're going to get into, you actually hear and see the other side, the spirit realm, the energy, the vibration. You see the things that are present and here, but the radio frequencies, if you will, and you have this antenna where you're picking them up.
Yeah.
Give place to that.
I'm what you would call ultra sensitive.
Yeah.
One of my friends said to me once that I'm like one of the satellites that NASA has, that they can point to a star system 100 billion light years away and I can pick up frequency.
Oh my, yeah.
Like it really is that sensitive. There's things coming into the receiver all the time, and I have to be very conscious of who I am, where I'm at, what I'm doing, so that I don't get overwhelmed with some of the energy.
That makes me want to live in a lead suit, so nothing because I imagine at first people are like, oh, that sounds amazing, but then it's like, no, you have such a feeling.
Yeah, it affects the physical body a lot. It affects the emotions. I mean, it affects everything. So you just have to be very clear on who you are. And I have a spiritual practice of my own that's personal that I do to keep myself functional in a human world, because the energy systems I run aren't human, right? So it does get a little interesting, but I also need that sensitivity to be able to do what I do.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, it's both.
Yeah. So you do soul mapping. Like you literally, you shared things with me, and I'll just tell our audience a few of the things you said. You said, I see an energy that's an angelic energy. I'm like, really? You're like, yeah, I see. You've been an angel before. And then we had Vivian Chauvette on our show, and I'm like, oh, she's an Arcturian. And the first thing you go, oh yeah, you've got Arcturian and Palladian. And I was like, I do? And so that was brand new. And you're like, oh yeah. And then you said, you go, there's also like a woodland, like a fairy. I'm like, what?
Elf.
You're a woodland elf? I was like, what? I was like, are my ears pointy? And so you're feeling this energy. Yeah. How does that work? I mean, how do you look at someone and go, oh, I feel energy and and because I'm growing into the awareness that we've always been here, we'll always be here. We're part of the godness of all creation, and we've had many different experiences. Yeah. How do you tune into that frequency?
Usually when I tune into someone, it's through the energy field. I ask them their name. If I know their name, I can find the resonance of that name. And then the way it appears with my clairvoyance is it's almost like a ball of colored yarn, right?
Whoa.
So I go into the ball of colored yarn and I pull out a strand. And I follow the strand wherever it takes me. And when I'm doing a soul map, it's like that ball of yarn is laid out flat on a table or a crystalline grid. It comes in lots of different ways. But I see a map of the soul, where the soul's been, where the soul's going, what the soul is choosing to do in this lifetime for its evolution or service to mankind or whatever it is. So I might not always be able to say, yeah, you should definitely take that job in New Mexico. That's definitely what you are supposed to do, right? Those readings are getting more difficult than they used to be because things are changing and shifting all the time in these quantum fields where the sensitivity, like one little tweak of something shifts things tremendously in a completely different direction.
Is that the mandala effect or something like that?
There is some of that happening, yeah. And when I tune into just the collective grids and the unity consciousness, because the Earth has the same thing. The Earth has a soul map. The Earth has a record. The solar system has a record. The universe has a record.
Is that the Akashic record?
There's Akashic.
Is that? Oh, I just keep trying to figure out the mystery. Okay, I'll keep going.
There's lots of levels of the Akashic. I don't know how much people know of that. But there's the soul Akashic, where you have your individual soul map, and that's where I go and I see all the books on the walls in the circular room and the table, and I see this whole scene in the Akashic where I go to read a map.
Whoa.
And then
the soul map, is it a three-dimensional looking thing?
Yeah,
so it's
it
not
goes
like
big. It's not flat.
It's not like a scroll on a piece of paper, X marks the spot. Is it more like dimensional?
It's more dimensional, but it can roll out like a scroll. A lot of people's paths are scrolls, and then it shifts. It becomes like this crystalline template that's got this quantum metallic substance in it that I can touch, and it does this like bendy thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, the
Describe
visions
that.
I have are really fun.
Oh, that sounds phenomenal.
But that's just the individual Akashic. You can shift into the Akashic for the planet, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe. You can go beyond this universe. There's Akashic records of everything that is of creation.
Okay, man, I feel
Past,
like
present, and future.
I feel like there's this big bucket and I keep dropping paint in it. It's all mixing up. So soul mapping, someone comes to you and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I don't feel. And I've heard people describe, if it's a man, they want advice on career. If it's a woman, they want advice on relationships. Not that it's only that, but that's really relationships and career. That's
pretty typical.
And then you're like, oh, it's so three-dimensional. Okay, and then you go, okay, that's kindergarten. So you give them some answers and they're like, oh, thank you. And they're like, yeah, we're not done. And then you start doing this psychic energy work with this soul mapping. What are the things that you tell people to shift them with consciousness? It's
more energy than anything. I mean, I don't think there's anything I can specifically say because each person is different, other than the verbiage I use is divine master reset. So I just reset them to their divine energy, their divine blueprint, their core essence. In each person, I see a flame of light at their heart, at their core. And that flame of light is the same flame of light that feeds the core of Source. So we all have it as part of Source.
Wow.
And I just look at that, and then I use the energy work to direct them into that energy. Because if they can get into that or even close to that, their life starts to go into flow. They start to have less resistance. Their illnesses fall away. Like all kinds of things happen. Relationship shifts, money shifts, everything.
Wow. So people are getting information. Is it helping them on their way to like change direction or keep on the same course? Is it, or whatever
they
matters?
want.
Yeah.
Whatever it needs to be for them.
Yeah.
I always say whatever serves your best and highest good.
Oh, I love that. That's good.
Yeah, that's it.
So who comes to you? What type of people? I mean, is it people that are looking for something?
Usually.
Yeah.
I have a wide range of people. It's really interesting. I've got some people that are top CEOs, multi-million-dollar companies. I've got stay-at-home moms with kids, and they've just completely lost their sense of self. I've got people ranging from 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way to my most elderly client is 85, 86. So it just depends. Men, women, children.
Yeah.
Anybody. I have a lot of parents that come with children who are more aware and more open to things, and they have questions and they're open to it, but they want to help their child stay in that place. So I have that. And then,
isn't that funny? That's like sports dad trying to get his kid at a young age to be a little leaguer so he can get to be a big leaguer. Now you've got spiritual parents who are like, oh, is my son special? Tell him if he's got a gifting to see angels. It's all this like sports parent and the spiritual parent.
Bit. Some of it is more of just they're a little bit freaked out because they don't know how to handle it.
Like a lot of kids seeing things,
or things that happen at nighttime, or entities that come in that aren't always the nicest. So I help them, kind of understand what's going on and how to get rid of things that don't need to be there, how to keep things more in the light.
Okay. Big red fire truck just came in. Entities that aren't so kind. Tell me about that negative energy. How do you deal with that?
Well, everything's polarity, right? In this universe, at least this universe, there's other universes that are all love.
Oh my God. There's other universes.
Other universes that are all dark.
Yes.
And not necessarily not loving, but just a like light, dark, different contrast, right? So this universe is set up as a universe of duality, contrast. So when you have lots of light, you also have lots of dark. It's a balance. The universe is structured that way.
Okay.
And that's where we get the free will thing as well. So we get to choose which part of the playground do we want to be on. Maybe you want to be in the middle, whichever. And so when something comes in that is more heavy and it's affecting them negatively, I I can help them move the energy. I clear houses. I can close portals and vortexes and things energetically because I can see it and I can move the energy. It always depends on the situation, how you deal with it.
So the infinity of the divine is such that as tiny as it goes into energy, as large as it goes through the universe and beyond.
Yeah.
And so I've heard people say that it's like there's multiple universes that are just one cell in the beingness of God that never stops. I'm like, that's where I get an ice cream headache.
Yeah,
and
my brain starts to hurt too.
What the hell? Because I can't imagine this pale blue dot that we're on, which isn't even visible from the other side of our visible universe. How there could be other universes.
You know that scene in Men in Black where, I don't know if you've seen, this always helps me.
Yeah.
Where they're at the end of Men in Black, they open up the locker. They're in the Men in Black headquarters and they have a locker.
Yeah.
They open it up and there's this little being in there with his little world and his community and they're like, hey, what's up? Saying hi. And to them, those guys, those Men in Black suits could be God.
Yeah.
Right? And then they're like, hey, what's up? And it's just this other dimensional place.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So good. All right, so those of us that were raised in a fear-based religious construct that said the divine is a being we shall name God, and it's a man, it's a male energy, and
that's a whole other story.
Somehow he created you to be subservient, and the whole role of you is to worship the divine, but unfortunately you can't be with him because you have original sin, so you need substitutionary atonement, thus enters Jesus, died on the sin for your cross. If you accept him, you can be with him. It's a very ego construct meant to give us the comfort. Yeah, I know. Give me the real version. What's really happening here? And what's all that construct about? Basically, explain life to me.
Gosh, no pressure.
And 10 seconds, go.
Okay. So in my perspective, because it's just one perspective.
Disclaimer.
Right? Yeah, there's my disclaimer. I only know what I know.
Nice.
Through the work I've done, and the channeling and the visions and the energies that I've experienced and I'm still experiencing, like every day, just more levels unfold. So this is just my right here, right now. Source, in and of itself, the creation energy of all that is and all that ever was and all that ever will be, was never created. It just is. And then there's these layers of this creation energy. So if you were to imagine, source, and then there's rings of energy, rings of experience that come out like a spiral, right? And within one of those really close spirals, directly within that source energy, there are creator energies. Male, female, androgynous, really doesn't matter. Gender is a human construct.
Oh, okay.
But within that scope of creation, there are more masculine energies and more feminine energies that come together in this kind of ecstatic, blissful union, rapturous place where they basically are worshiping the creation all the time and in this state of love all the time. And as they're in this state of love and creating and all this energy is flowing, they become conscious of ideas, of what happens with this? What happens with that? Right? Kind of a curiosity kind of energy is how it is perceived by me. And one of the creator energies decided, I know her as Sophia, a goddess energy.
Yes.
Not a god energy. She decided to create a space of duality, polarity, free will, and she went into this state of creation with a masculine energy, and they created this vision, this dream, right? And it created our universe. And the interesting thing with Sophia, most of the creator energies, they just kind of stay in their ring. They stay with the creation, the origin, and they just be ecstatically blissful and watch their dream play out. They don't really come in too much. Well, Sophia decided, I want to see what that's like in there.
Wow.
So her energy.
So you don't want to see SimCity, you want to be SimCity.
So this creation energy decided at some point to go in and experience her creation. And so she left that ring, or part of her left that ring, that consciousness, and went in to experience our universe, our world, especially the earth. And there's a whole bunch of information I could give you around the earth.
And you will. Keep going. Yes, I want to hear it.
But with the earth itself, with things that were happening with the earth, human beings were forgetting their inner light, right? Their flame, their connection to source. And so she took a part of her consciousness and decided to descend into the earth plane as well. So she went through a process of forgetting as well, like who she is.
Whoa.
And so now she's here coming back as this feminine energy, a feminine Christ consciousness, actually, is the way I'm seeing it.
Okay.
And waking up this divine feminine within all of us and helping us to remember who we are through that veil of forgetting. So she kind of leapt in, experienced, forgot, and then is now coming back. And there's a whole story with the Christ consciousness energy, not as Christ as a man, but Christ as the unconditional love. It's the same energy that Buddha holds and any great spiritual teachers. It's not about a religion. It's about a pathway of being. And it's all rooted in love.
Yeah.
So the Christ energy comes in. My perception of it was a masculine form of the Sophia energy that came in to help her because she forgot.
Oh.
And so this whole thing of the second coming of Christ and this whole thing that religion kind of twisted, it's really interesting because it's all of us coming back into our God self through the energy of the goddess.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good. That narrative is so good. Yeah. It's the godness within us that's having an understanding of consciousness rather than the separation. Now, you told me about separation and you said we all have a core wound, whether it's abandonment or not feeling loved or not being good enough, but it all comes from separation. Tell me more about that.
So when we are in that Sophia energy, she created us in this dream state. We were still with her, right? But we were observing as well. So we decided we, as in each individual soul, decides to separate from that energy to have an individualized experience of the dream. Because in doing that, then the Sophia energy gets to experience the dream.
Yeah.
So when we separate, we have this, what happened? I got kicked out of God. I got kicked out of, heaven. What's going on? We have this core wound, just like when a baby emerges from the womb and they cut the umbilical cord. There's this energy that happens of disconnect. And even though source is still there, the mother's still there, there's this energy of disconnect. So we experience that at a very core level as a soul. And that's one of the core separations. That's what that is.
And so that wound, so to speak, that we have in this ego construct is really a divine separation from total connectedness. And now we have this separation. So
and it's an illusion.
But
we chose it. But we forgot that we chose it.
Oh my God.
Because we thought it would be cool to go out and experience. And each soul has divided themselves, hundreds, if not thousands of times so that they could go out and experience creation in all these different ways. That's why everybody is always looking to reunify their masculine and feminine, or the stuff with the soulmates and the twin flames and the beloved and all of that. It's because we're looking for that other part of us that we separated from. However many levels up, however many eons ago, we're looking to reunify.
So then a simplified answer to what happens after we die is simply reunification?
If you choose it.
Okay, because there's different conscious levels. And of course, I feel like everything I try to figure out, you to go, there's many layers to that. I'm like, okay.
It's an onion.
Okay. So put it in terms like I was 6 years old. So let's say then this time on Earth my time is over. And I cross over to the other side, what we would say die. What do I experience? The belief system I have? Do I experience consciousness? What do you think that I would experience?
I think it's a combination of all of that. Because you have your belief system as a human being, and that's still informing you as a soul, right? So when you cross over into another plane, you can choose to stay in a belief system of, okay, I'm a soul, I'm all that I am. I'm going to go to heaven now, right? And I feel like we go into kind of a fourth dimensional energy, and there's heaven. There's libraries and houses, and there's still some physical structure to this place. And people go and they do what's called a lifetime review, and they get like a 360-degree screen, and they look around at all the things that they've done in their life, and they decide this was good, I didn't like this, I want to do this better next time, and they decide how they want to grow. or how they didn't grow or did grow. And there's no God judging them, saying, you didn't do your job.
Yep.
They get to judge themselves, if that's even the right word.
It's almost
judge
like
is the wrong word.
an evaluation, if you will.
Just like, let's debrief from our human vacation, right?
Yep.
And so we go in and we look at ourselves. And some souls have been around a long time. They've tried lots of different things, been on multiple different planets, dimensions, have evolved to a soul level where they're at a higher vibratory rate or a higher consciousness awareness of the interconnectedness of all that is. If you're human and you've pretty much just been on the human path, you may just go into that heavenly plane and then you'll stay there for a while and then you'll do another human life if you want. You know, you have that choice.
What do you think the advantages of having more human life experiences?
The earth is set up to be a fast track of soul evolution.
Okay.
So the souls that come to earth are very brave and very strong.
Yeah.
You know, they're regarded that way in the realm of spirit.
Yeah, because life is hard and it sucks. And, you know, that whole thing we get into, sure. But there's reality
again, that's
there.
a construct.
It's a construct.
But still,
everything's a construct.
It's a virtual reality game, and we choose it because we want to grow. Right? Or we want to help, or we want to do this or that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't, at least in the work that I've done, I don't believe in right or wrong, good or bad. It's just, what do you choose?
Yeah.
What feels loving or not?
Yep.
And for me, I do everything I can to be in a state of love, and others may choose the opposite.
Yep.
And like, I don't judge that because I understand it from this place of, we're all evolving as souls. We're all just having these experiences because we want to see what it's like.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Man, that hits so close to home. In September of 2017, I did an ayahuasca ceremony, and the two simple messages I got was enjoy the ride, and the second one was beliefs. And I said, what does that mean? And the divine Mamacita, the ayahuasca, Mama Aya, whatever, it said, whatever you believe becomes your reality.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, and I literally heard constructs. Everything is a construct. And you keep saying that. I'm like, yes, I heard that in September. I was like, yes, everything is a construct. So we form these containers that we live in, you know, relationship, politics, religion, whatever that, you know, gender identity, whatever that construct is. And this is who I am. It's very ego-based. And it's very like, I can define who I am by this construct, when reality, it's just an illusion. It's just a construct.
Yeah. And everything in spirituality is like that. But in the earth plane and the other planes. I mean, I do work where I span all the way up to the 13th dimension, which is the source dimension.
What?
And there's 144 dimensions within each dimension.
What?
And then there's other dimensions within that, and there's other dimensions outside of that. And it gets really mind-blowing. So I'm looking at this whole thing, right? Because I can go from, you know, in my meditations, we go into source, we go into bliss energy, and everyone gets all blissed out without drugs. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a legal drug dealer because I don't do drugs.
I love it.
But we go into source, and it's like, even the process of going through the dimensions, right? We go through 6th dimension, we go to the 8th dimensional, we go and explore with angels, and we go to this temple of light, and we go to Shambhala, and we go to this place where the flames all come together. We go to this dragon's lair. We have these journeys of the soul, right?
Wow.
Through all these dimensions before we get to source. And every week we do this in our meditation group. And I was talking to Spirit about this, and I'm like, this is just another construct, right? Like, all these dimensions, all of these energies, they're like, yes, we're just taking you through this ladder, and the only goal is to get back to source and to realize source is with you the whole time, so you aren't really going anywhere. And there's just this whole
It's the journey
thing.
to nowhere, but it's play.
Yeah. So we're like, oh, 4th dimension's heaven, and 5th dimension is Christ consciousness, and 6th dimension starts getting into some more Christ consciousness and a little bit of star being energy that's more evolved. And then we get into 7th and 8th and 9th, and you've got like ascended masters and even more angels, and you've got other star beings, and you've got, who cares?
Yeah, it just continues the infinite journey of what is possible.
What is the creator dreaming?
Yeah.
And if you are also the creator, what are you dreaming?
Oh, so
That's
good.
it.
So I saw that in that ayahuasca ceremony, I saw this ball of energy, this white ball of light, and then it was like picking up sand, and it was going like this, and I, you know, moving the sand with its hands.
Wow.
And I said, what is that? And the divine said, this is what we are doing.
Yeah.
We're just making this all up. And I went, oh, it's all just one thing. And so for the next 4 hours, I just sat there and I was like, it's just one thing. It's just one thing. And I started laughing. It's it's just one thing. Oh my God, it's just, and I couldn't stop. I go, it's just one thing. And I would look at the chair, or I'd look at my son, Tyler, or I would look at the mountains. I go, it's just one thing. It's all just one thing. And he's like, yeah, it's just one thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably tripping balls, but yeah. But I was very cognizant of, you know, I wasn't like outside my mind. I was like, it's just one thing. It's so good. And that's what you're saying. It's just one thing.
Yeah.
The construct of everything we do.
Everything. The highs, the lows, the dark, the light, everything. It's just creation.
Oh, so good. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. I love the way Neil puts it in there. He said, we are not here to go to school and learn lessons. We're here to have experiences. Now, along the way, you're going to learn. That's great. And I like that because it takes the shame and the fear of like, you didn't do your homework. You have to do it over. And it's like, oh, I failed. It's not about passing or failing. It's about having that experience. And whether you feel like you did it right or wrong, those are constructs.
The lesson mentality that we're here to suffer and grow for our evolution even, that's an old paradigm. That's falling away. As you move into the fifth dimensional energy and higher, you recognize that we are here to experience joy and love and pleasure and connection, and that is what creation energy really is. Every time we have this resistance or label or barrier to whatever it is, we're limiting creation energy. Think about that. Oh, I didn't learn my lesson. Do you feel inspired to go make a new painting? No.
Nope. You're just like, I'm not good enough. Back to that separation core wound.
That's the fun little thing that our ego and experience does.
I love this saying Sue Shapiro shared with me, ego is edging God out, E-G-O. And apparently that's something that lots of people know about. I've never heard that before. Edging God out is ego, where you take the divinity within you and you negate it by saying, I'm not this or I'm not that. And that's just all an ego construct. Oh, so good.
I mean, the ego has its place. It's necessary for survival for certain things, but the ego should not control us, and we should not make our decisions from the ego. And a lot of our society does. They're learning, it's shifting, but
oh, this is a big, beautiful construct. So when I've been in your center, you're always playing some just kind of cool, high vibrational, soft meditation style music. It's kind of cool. And tell me about sound healing and the things you do with music and vibration.
Well, everything is vibration. To me, every bit of energy is based in sound. Like even before there's color and light, there's sound, right? There has to be a sound vibration to create color even.
Sure.
So for the sound healing, I play with gongs, singing bowls, Tibetan singing bowls, crystal singing bowls, rattles, drums, my voice. I do a lot of intoning and chanting with my voice. I'll channel vibration and seed sounds. Before I even knew what seed sounds were, I was like,
what's that word you're using?
Seed sounds.
Yeah, explain.
They're original sounds from the beginning of this universal construct.
What?
Yeah.
Is that
like in the Bible where they say in the beginning there was the sound?
Yeah.
Or whatever it says.
Well, it says in the beginning, the earth was formless and void, and God said, let there be light. And so it's the speaking of. Yeah. It's the vocalization.
The sound.
Yeah. So, and I've heard people say that that's
it's the breath of life. It's what brings the creation into being. So any kind of healing that you can do with sound is super powerful. And it also kind of stops the monkey mind, the ego mind, the chatter, because especially when I'm playing a gong, you know, people's minds have no defense against a gong.
Oh, it's hard.
They can't make sense of it, right? It scatters their brains.
You can go like really, you know, bring it up, and then you go wham, wham. And he's like, oh, you can feel it. What? Yeah. I've been doing yoga teacher training, and it's just been amazing. And Dwayne is one of my yoga teachers, and he has a hatha gong class where he does the asana practice with gong, and you can feel it. And he's like, now open up your heart chakra, and you hit the gong, and you're just like, whoa, you can really feel it.
Levitating.
Yeah, it's so good. So in the yoga practice, we use the Om. Yeah, AUM. And I've heard it said it's like the beginning of it is the ah to the o to the and it's like ah as in like ah, the wonder, the o as in like oh, the realization, and the because it's so good.
I think you added that part.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's just that energetic, even as we use this human vessel, this instrumentation of our voice to do that. I love the unity and the unification that comes from that.
And when you're saying that, it's so funny because even when I think of Aum, I'm feeling masculine, feminine unity in creation.
Oh.
You've got the A and the O coming together into the unifying sound.
That sounds super sexy. So it's like the ah and the oh,
Yeah.
they come together to the I love it. That's so good.
Yeah.
You do
it's everywhere.
You do so many things. So I have to make sure I don't forget to give presents to your psychic, angelic ability to see, hear. You get messages. You get archangel. You literally have a conversation. You're like, oh yeah, your angel's telling me this and that. And as you were coming here to the center, I was getting messages. Talk about that other dimensional conversations that you have.
Well, it happens. And what do you want to know about it?
Well, it's super different to me. I've never experienced that.
It's telepathic for me. I know some people that have really powerful clairaudience. They actually hear the words, and I do some, but it's very telepathic. It's like a knowing of information. And then it's like something speaking to me, but it's so fast. There's no words that are formed. Right. So my intuition, I know it's my intuition talking to me because I didn't have a moment to even ask a question or think a thought. That gets in the way of it. So it's a telepathic conversation. It's a full body, sensorial, spiritual experience. It's not just, oh, somebody's talking to my ear, right? It's this, okay, Gabriel says this, and I feel it. I feel it in my molecules. I feel the chi energy running through me. I'm connecting to that flame of creation within him, or her, what Gabriel, whatever. I connect with Gabriel as a him. He's both. But I connect with that energy, so it flows all through me. And I get sensations that are feeling, hearing, seeing, knowing, all of it.
So when we did your energy work, you used the terminology, the violet flame of Saint Germain. And I was like, hey, that's your last name. Explain that.
Oh boy, this is like a whole other thing. Okay.
And there's 144 layers of it.
Right, yeah.
In only one dimension. Okay.
So I just want to say I was actually born with that name. Like I didn't change my name to Saint Germain. A lot of people in spiritual circles change their names to a certain frequency. And I didn't. That's my name. It's my family. And in France, it's a very common name. So it's nothing special.
Wow.
So, but Saint Germain as a spiritual teacher and on a soul level, there's a being that is known as Ascended Master Saint Germain.
Okay.
And Saint Germain is a spiritual alchemist, which I've kind of moved into calling myself that because I don't know what else to call myself at this point. I literally transmute heaviness into gold in the soul. Like I turn the soul into gold, into the Christ energy, into the source light. And I don't know how else to describe what I'm doing. But Saint Germain in the spiritual realms created a spiritual tool of the violet flame. And the violet flame is an energy we can use as human beings to shift our consciousness, to raise our vibration out of that third dimensional energy and into that fifth dimensional energy of Christ consciousness, which is love and unity, oneness. So Saint Germain comes in and gives us this tool to work with and use. And he's connected to the ancient Lumerians, to Lumerians. There's Lumerian civilizations and Atlantis. People know about Atlantis.
Oh, sure.
Lumerian was around the same time, about 200 years before.
Whoa.
Ancient civilizations that were very evolved spiritually. And so just from what I understand, Saint Germain worked with those civilizations and helped them evolve spiritually as well through the violet flame and through lots of other things like sacred geometry and working with crystals. And there's star being energies that come in to assist that as well.
Oh my God. So, okay, so the violet flame of Saint Germain. So when I was doing the energy work with you, I was on that table and you were doing your Reiki hands over, and I felt this amazing energy. I had a sensation where there was this dark circle, and inside of it was this white light, and then it reversed and it became this like blaring, super hot white light with a black dot. Then that dot turned blue, and then the whole thing went vroom, and turned violet into this purple light, about the same color as your shirt. And was that the violet flame, or was that some sensation I was having?
We were sealing it up at that point. So I was using the violet flame and the Christ energy and the creation energy that you hold to seal in your energy field to everything that we brought in.
I mean, I literally had my eyes closed, but I saw this thing and it went whoosh, like the whole thing just washed.
That's when we shut it off.
And I was like, what just happened? And so I described to you what was happening, and you're like, oh, it's very easy. And you just give presence to that. So that energy that I'm feeling, you can feel, and then you can see, and you can understand. And that's part of what your work is. Yeah,
you went into the cosmic womb energy.
Yeah.
And you were in the ring around the womb, and the womb is that creation energy.
Oh my God.
And then all those beings you were seeing was part of your soul family, your angels, your guidance team. They're saying, hey, what's up, dude? We're waking you up.
Okay.
Woo-hoo.
So the other half of this story is I literally saw this. I know. I literally saw this circle. It was this, I mean, my eyes were closed. It was all encompassing, but it was a circle, and it had an edge to it. And at first it was all black and this white dot. And as I'm moving forward, then it turns all white light. And on the top, and I can still see it in my mind, indelibly marked there was a dude holding his hands up like this, like he was summoning me forward. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, he's right there. I can see him in my mind. And on the bottom, there was a dude kind of bent over observing. Use the term dude in a scientific way. And then there were 3 or 4 or 5 other shapes, people around observing, but they weren't doing anything other than merely observing.
Just holding space and observing. And
I had this feeling like the guy on the top was somehow motioning or conjuring or moving.
He's orchestrating it.
Yeah. And then I felt like I was moving forward. And that's where they went from black to all white, but I could see the black silhouette. And it wasn't like the color white. It was like such bright light. It was so intense. All I could do was focus on the edge of the silhouette. And then that center that now was black went blue. And I'm like, the first thing I thought is that's got to be some chakra color I don't fully understand. And then the next thing that happened is the whole thing turned purple. Okay, so then you're like, oh yeah, you're going through the cosmic womb, being birthed into new consciousness. I'm like, what happened? And the whole time I'm like, I'm pins and needles, and I'm on fire, and I'm like, what's happening? And then you go, okay, I'm told my angel guides are to Michael, or I think it was Michael. You go, probably. Michael's telling me I have to stop before I kill you and before I destroy you or whatever you use. You go, I have to stop because you can't handle it anymore.
Your molecules were exploding.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. What the hell happened?
Well, you can get to a certain frequency of vibration, right? You were vibrating.
Yeah.
And sorry, feeling the energy. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I feel it too. I literally feel it right now. I'm feeling that same energy vibration.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So holding your core energy is really important and powerful. But if you were to hold that all the time in your physical body, your molecules would explode. It's like people talking about looking upon an angel in its true form. Your eye sockets would burn out and become goo. That's really what it is. This energy is creation energy. It's stronger than 1 billion suns. I mean, so you can only hold it to a certain level, and then you work your way up to the next, to the next, to the next before, or you will disintegrate physically. You have a physical vessel, so we have to honor that.
Yeah.
So there was only so far we could go before your molecules were like, oh my God, too much light.
Wow.
Right? And so then after that, then you have to take some time to integrate and bring in the energy and hold it and practice being in that space so you can go to the next one and the next one and the next one. All these layers of who you are.
Okay.
You wouldn't die, but you might be really sore afterwards and you wouldn't like me very much.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. And so you're like, oh yeah, we're done. And then I was like, okay. I thought we were going to go a little longer than 15 minutes. And you go, no, it's been an hour and 20 minutes. I go, no, come on. And you go, no, really, look at the clock. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I looked at the clock and I said, your clock is a liar. I thought it had been 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And I was just, and I was like, literally like had this some sort of a high. I was like,
Yeah. You went high. Pretty much.
It's incredible.
That's what people are trying to do with drugs. They're trying to get high. They don't have to. They just have to go get energy work or meditate or find somebody like me.
Yeah.
To help them.
Yeah. Whoa. That's incredible.
Yeah.
As I look through the list of things here, there's so much information. When people do meditation, there is the ability to do some deep inner work. And Sweet Lady Gail has been doing a lot of meditation. And she started out 5-10 minutes a day. She's now up to where she'll be in her meditation space for 2 hours. Yep. And when I come down, I'm like, what just happened? And she'll be like, oh yeah, I was traveling around. I'm like, excuse me? And it's like, she's like, oh yeah, I was cruising around. It was like this astral cosmic thing and then she gets information. She has a notebook full of writing where she's getting information. And I'm like, what? Explain how that soul travel happens when people are meditating.
For me, I just open up to it. Meditation is hard for a lot of people because they can't shut off their mind. For me, I just go into my really creative space. I'm curious. So tell me the story. I literally say, show me the story or tell me the story. And then it opens. I mean, I do a whole process of getting into a meditative state. And then I just open. I have a screen in my mind's eye that I just open like a movie screen. And I'm like, okay, show me the story. And then images start coming and feelings and words and stuff.
Wow.
And anybody can do it. I mean, I teach people how to do it. But it's learning to just be creative and trust what comes in. That's the biggest thing. Everybody receives messages, but they're very subtle. The spirit doesn't come at you like a lightning bolt. It's a soft whisper. It's very gentle, and most people miss it. So they don't think they're having any experience. I have a gal I've been working with for about a year, and she gets so frustrated because she can't feel the way that I'm feeling. But she gets colors and she starts seeing shapes, and she started having some medical intuitive where she was seeing into the body and she didn't know what it was.
Oh, wow.
So, and I have that too. So I was explaining to her, okay, this is what this is. This is how you navigate this. And she's still frustrated though, because she can't feel it. So we went into meditation with her on our recent retreat, and Spirit was showing me the reason that she's not feeling the way she wants to is because she's going in and doing work with Mother Earth through like the circulatory system of Mother Earth, the physical body of Mother Earth. And if she was to feel it the way I feel it, it would crush her. Like she couldn't handle the sensation of it. So she kind of has this ability to just look and see and observe. So she's developing her clairvoyance, but even seeing some flashes of purple or a white light, she didn't think that was clairvoyance. And I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, you're seeing. It's not a big movie that they lay out in front of you and everything makes sense. It's that ball of yarn, or it's a puzzle that they flip over and all the pieces go everywhere and you have to kind of piece it together to make sense of it. So. Wow.
So I've been to a physical meditation where you do a guided meditation and you say things, and I feel like you're just very fluid and you receive messages and you talk and you take people through this. Do you have guided meditations, recordings that people can do or can listen to?
Yeah, I have a couple of free ones on my website.
And give presence to your website for our listeners.
JeanetteSaintGermain.com.
Yeah. And it'll be in the show notes if you're looking, if you're on a podcast trying to figure out how to spell that, it'll be in the show
right.
notes. Yeah.
And it's under free gifts. So there's some free little audio meditations on there. And then I also have a meditation CD that they can purchase where we go through the dimensions a bit. We go into Sophia, we go to Source and receive that energy. So a couple of different ways of doing that online and then also in person. So
the construct of a single lifetime where you're at the end judged by a divine based on whether or not you accepted Jesus into your heart seems so not legitimate. after experiencing and learning and growing, the narrative of this whole thing as God experiencing God's self seems so much better, so much more logical, so much lighter, so much more peaceful. And after speaking with you, learning about your work, I feel like you really have a handle on the whole system, the way it works. And I feel like you really can give people peace and a presence to the whole thing. And then, boy, I almost feel like the silliness of, oh, I'm afraid and I need help making decisions, and I'm depressed, and I feel like that is so three-dimensional and so lower vibration after having spent time talking with you and learning about your work. But yet there's many people who are just like, oh, I'm depressed, and what should I take this new job in New Mexico? I don't know. And I feel like there's such a lightness about you. You're just like, if you want to, it doesn't really matter, but hey, if you want to have a great experience, I've got a message from a guide. You might want to try this. How do you help people that are kind of in this little self-imposed cage of a belief system?
Well, I try to bring the lightness and the joy, and I also hold space for them to have their experience. I don't have any judgment around someone having a hard experience. We're human. We're here to be human. And I think a lot of people on the spiritual path think that they have to be happy all the time and high vibrational all the time. And I think that's spiritual bypassing. We're here to have a human experience.
Yeah.
So
including the ups and the downs.
Yeah. And for me, I'm here to experience all of it.
Yeah.
Every part of it. And there's parts of it I don't necessarily like, but I know that I would rather feel it than not feel it. And I know there's a lot of people walking around kind of in zombie mode and they can't feel anything. They feel dead inside. I've had clients come in and say, I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. I feel pulled to something, but I can't feel anything. Like, what is this, right? So I just start with the basics of, okay, your breath, your heartbeat, the flower that's blooming on the sidewalk, like really small things. Start focusing, start noticing the world around you, noticing the world within you. How do you feel when you sit in this chair next to this person, right? Becoming conscious. Because when people are depressed or having a panic attack or in that really low place, they're just unconscious. I mean, I've seen that a lot of times, that they just aren't aware of where they really are. They get lost in where they think they should be, or where they used to be, or where they might be going, instead of just being present. So I try with my clients to get them in the present moment, to infuse it with light and gratitude and optimism. But I also hold space for them to cry and have a hard moment, and that's part of it.
Yeah. You shared with me a story when we were filming your video feature about an individual, a male that had something inside of him. Please share that story with our viewers.
Everybody has stuff inside them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. So one of my clients, we've been working about a year on clearing asthma. Okay. And this person's been on a spiritual path for a few years and learning lots of stuff, super curious, and learning to run energy. And so he was just getting very frustrated because he was having all these asthma attacks. And every time he would come in with the asthma, I'm like, it's not about asthma. This is about romantic relationships.
Oh.
And he always has cherub energy around him and all these angels of romance around him. And he always would be like, no. When he would shut it away, he's like, I don't want to hear about that. And I'm like, but that's what they're showing me is connected to your asthma.
Wow.
So finally he comes in. He's like, okay, get to the core, whatever this is.
He's ready for surgery.
Like, okay, here we go. And so he goes on the table and we start doing the energy work. And we'd cleared enough levels and layers at this point where we got to a core wound where part of the energy that was a feminine aspect of himself from inception, from when he first became an individual consciousness, separated from source.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm already like, oh. So this energy, he separated from source, and then he was separating again, masculine, feminine, then you separate a bunch more times. And this feminine energy had the freak out. Oh my gosh, you're leaving me. I feel this separation, this connection, disconnect. And he didn't address it, I guess, at that moment. And so part of her energy got hooked into his energy system as a soul and stayed with him. everywhere he went, in every incarnation, every lifetime, every place he's been ever since he left Source. And then another part of, the part of her that fully left has been doing her own thing. So we're in this energy session, and I'm looking at his chakras, and I'm going through the layers, and here I see this feminine energy hooked into his chakra. And I'm looking at this like...
Which chakra was it?
It was his solar plexus.
Okay.
So the emotional center in the stomach, and it was on the right side, which is usually the masculine side and future. And so it was really interesting, this feminine energy just kind of hanging on like this into his chakra. And I'm like, what is this? I thought we were doing stuff with asthma. And so they start showing me what happened and how this energy got hooked. And I had to clear it somehow. Right? I'm like, I have to get this energy back into a oneness state with itself, because it was all twisted up and angry and creating all these asthma symptoms in the physical body and festering this unseen, unheard, unknown part of his feminine soul. And so I go in there, and she's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm trying to clear this. I'm calling in Archangel Michael. And I'm basically like doing this whole clearing process, like energetic surgery thing. Yeah. And we get her to clear, and I see Archangel Michael take her into the source ball of light that was his source energy, apparently. Yeah. She's kicking and screaming, doesn't want to go. She goes in, and within 2 seconds, she rises back up out of the star and is like completely reborn, filled with gold and yellow and fire energy. And she's beaming, beautiful, so happy. And she's like, thank you so much.
Oh, wow.
And I felt this whole energy just go whoom, like all through him, all through his heart, his whole body. And she showed me how she was keeping him from having romantic relationships and connections, and how there were other lifetimes where whenever he would be with someone, they would like die in childbirth, like all these horrible things were happening to him in past lives.
Wow.
He couldn't have a romantic relationship because she was all twisted up inside him as this feminine aspect that didn't feel loved.
Oh my.
It was just like, I mean, talking about it seems completely insane and comical and bizarre. Yeah. But wow. Yeah, that we cleared that. And he'd been having massive asthma attacks. And after that session, he didn't have any asthma issues for at least, what did he tell me? I think it was about 2 weeks. He didn't have any issues. And then when he did, it was just a tiny bit here and there so far. And that was about 2.5 weeks ago. We did that session.
Wow.
And I told him it's going to take time to integrate. Obviously, it was a core wound. So that can take a long time to come through all the layers. Yep. Of energy and spirituality and your mental and your emotional and your physical body. That's kind of the last stop where the energy will shift, is the physical body. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting.
Oh, that's fantastic. Jeanette St. Germain. All right. So we didn't get to very much here. So as we're beginning this episode, I look at the clock and I realize it's been over an hour. I'm like, what is happening again? I'm in a time loop. Learning about all of the things you know. The divine feminine, the divine masculine, sacred sexuality, the Sophia energy, creating universes. There's so many things. How do you feel about filming another episode?
Awesome.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. We're going to film another episode. You're going to get to hear more about Jeanette St. Germain, more about the things that she's teaching me. And we're going to explore our human journey. Oh, it's going to be so good. So for this episode, I'd like to give the viewers and the listeners something that they can grab a hold of. You know, how can this help me? They're thinking, you know, give me something. So if there's one thing you want to make sure people are left with, and if there's one thing, this is the thing, what do you feel like that thing is you want to make sure people know and get a hold of?
Experience the present moment. Every issue, every problem, every resistance we have is because we are too busy worrying about other things instead of just being present with where we are. That right there changes so many things. Having gratitude, acknowledging, being, even when you're having a hard moment, having gratitude for it because you're alive, you're feeling something. And every moment changes, every moment shifts. So if there's a low, there's an equal and opposite high.
Oh, brilliant. Jeanette, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is
It's been
incredible.
really fun.
All of the things you know, the things you're doing to be of service to consciousness, to community, thank you for sharing your violet flame of Saint Germain. So
you.
awesome. High five.
Thank you.
I'm David Marsh, and you've been watching Exploring the Human Journey on YouTube as a video and listening as a podcast. If you would like to help continue the conversation, please consider supporting us by visiting patreon.com, where you can support us on a monthly basis and get extra bonus content. For as little as $1 a month, you can make this show sustainable and help continue spiritual consciousness. You can also help by following us on Facebook and Instagram. For more information about the show, find us online at exploringthehumanjourney.com.